Buongiorno and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to talk about the 4-3-3-4 variation post-patch custom tactics. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. Defensive style is press after possession lost. We want to have full control of the game and we want to make sure to regain control of the ball as soon as we have lost it with a 40 width and a 71 depth. Bear in mind that from time to time you might find yourself exposed to counter-attack, therefore especially if you lose the ball in the midfield area, and few words is important for you to understand which one is the situation in which you might want press and challenge your opponent and which one is the situation to cover the passing lanes in order to give your team the time to regain a good defensive shape. Moving into the attacking phase, we'll have a balanced build-up play with a possession style of chance creation, a 45 width and 6 for player in the box. With this we want to bring man forward and crown the edge of the box area. That gives us plenty of passing options as well as a good amount of player in the opponent half, generally 6 to 8 that would immediately press in case we've made a mistake, making it quite difficult for our opponent to have an easy and comfortable build-up play. We then finish with a 2 for corners and 1 for free kicks.
Here's a few examples of high pressing. In this situation, I've lost the ball with CR7, so I immediately switch to Dybala in order to slow down my opponent counter. Once my team is back on a great defensive shape, I then proceed with my plan of high pressing, right stick switching with our 1-second man press as well as using the D-pad offside trap to keep my defensive line high in the pitch.
In this other situation, my opponent quickly counter, but I've noticed that he is only 2-man forward, so I immediately proceed with the pressing first with my CDM to then switch to my CB, and with the help of our 1-second man pressing I regain control of the ball, find my striker with a double tap triangle and finishing with a beautiful lob. The team tends to shape quite consistently either on a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2 during the games depending on how your opponent decides to attack. You will notice that once your opponent attacks with a slow build-up made of horizontal passes, like in this case your wings will tend to drop while your cam will tend to become your second striker, forming a 4-4-2.
In this other situation, my opponent quickly counters me and the defensive shape tends to move into a 4-2-3-1 as you can see with the striker the only man left up front.
It is now time to explore the player instructions. Starting from the wings. I tend to like left-footed players since most of us is quite used to defend the right foot of our opponent, and I feel that creates a bit of unpredictability, but any wing with high pace and stamina would do. High-medium work rate would be the perfection for both of them, or either a combination of high-low and high-medium like in my case would do. Both wings are on comeback on defense, free roam for chance creation, balance for support runs as well as get into the box for support on crosses that help us to always have about 3 players in the box for when our opponent leaves open spaces which we want to exploit with quick counter attacks. In the striker position, ideally would be to have a high-low work rate and we want him to always be in the center of our attack, therefore for support runs we chose stay central, attacking runs on get in behind while everything else is on default. We're now moving to the midfield position, which is the key of this specific formation. With the cam, the best is to opt for a medium work rate, which is certainly not ideal for a center mid, but is the best for a cam cause he will always be there for us to connect the 2 phases defense to attack as well as, if with some sort of defensive stats, also attack to defense. I find Zidane to be the perfect player, and you might notice I play him on shadow chemistry so that here and there it increased the chance of a much needed defensive help. Back to the instructions, defensive support is stay forward, that creates together with your wings on comeback on defense a game path in which once you're quickly countered you'll find yourself defending on a 4-2-3-1, while if your opponent likes to slowly build up from the back your cam will tend to become a second striker and your defensive formation will shape into a 4-4-2. We'll shortly move to some gameplay footage that will highlight these 2 situations. Now our CM, both of them recommended to be on a high work rate. For each of them, the instructions are very much connected to the fullback that they are playing next to, so in my case, I have Valverde as a LCM, which is the more attacking of the 2 on a get forward attacking support, drift wide for position freedom and cover wing. This come from the low defensive work rate of Dybala next to him, which might from time to time need some help. To avoid too many player committing forward on one side of the pitch, the LB is completely on balance instruction. Between the two full-backs, he'll play a more defensive role. Moving to the right side, we have Shapeshifter Kimpembe, in my opinion the ultimate CDM of FIFA 22. He'll be on stay back while attacking, defensive position on cover center while everything else is on default, that is to provide cover to our RB Spinazzola, which is on join attack while everything else is in default. For our center back as well as goalkeeper, we keep all instruction on default.
Into the box as attacking support. As you can see from the footages, your cam in attacking situations will serve you as second striker and will often be available as a passing option for a quick 1-2 as well as be the finalizer of your attack. I believe at this stage of the game a 5-star skiller is almost a must for this specific rule. You also might want to look at decent finishing as well as great passing with high vision stats so that he'll perform at his best capability. Also in the rule of connection between your midfield and your attack, especially in situations of quick transition which might require long pass or lobs over your opposition defense. Pace is obviously an important aspect to take in consideration, and I would certainly favor acceleration over sprint speed for this specific position, since you'll more often find yourself having to deal in tight spaces than running in open space chased by your opponent defenders.
Wings on comeback on defense is a key support to your defense so that you almost always establish a situation of advantage in numbers on the sides of the pitch against your opponent if you're facing a much popular 3-5-2 or a situation of even numbers against a 4-4-2 or 4-2-2. As previously mentioned, a high-medium work rate is preferable over a high-low.
Moving to the LCM going forward. This, in my opinion, is the extra touch to an already offensive formation, bringing the number of players fully involved in the attack to 5 without taking consideration of the full backs. That makes it quite difficult for your opponent to defend, as well as show in the footage can be quite lethal in counter-attacks. I use Valverde's Shapeshifter, which fit the rule almost to perfection with his high work rate.
At last, but not least, is your striker on get in behind. That will allow you to exploit your opposition mistake, especially in quick counter, often finding yourself at 1 versus 1 with the goalkeeper, while some other time it can also be used to trick your opponent to think that you might go for a long or a lob pass, opening spaces for you to maneuver in the midfield area. This is a key approach in order to differentiate your attacks and increase the unpredictability of your gameplay.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. See you soon.